Redemption arcs are some of my favorite types of character development in a show or movie. Seeing someone go from a shitty person to an actual good person and the journey they took to get there is something I just love watching. And in this video, I'll be going over some satisfying redemption arcs, starting off with A-Train. Now, A-Train was the first villain we're introduced to in The Boys, and he's also the one who started the entire plot by plowing through Huey's girlfriend. And I don't mean plowed like figuratively, no, he literally ran through her. And even after he didn't even apologize, he just kept running. So needless to say, our first impressions of A-Train aren't too good. He showed no remorse for killing Robin, took Compound V so he can maintain his status as the fastest human, and even killed his own girlfriend. At that point, he was probably one of the most dislikable people in the entire show, which is saying a lot because this show has the likes of Homelander, Stormfront, and Todd. However, all those Compound V doses he was taking were starting to have an effect on him. As we see, he starts to develop a heart condition, basically limiting him on the one thing he could do, which was run. This ends up getting him kicked out of the 7, and while A-Train did get back in the 7, he clearly did not get the respect he once got. I mean the Deep, the man who has romantic relationships with animals was getting more respect than A-Train. And honestly, with the way Homelander was treating A-Train, I was catching myself having just a little sympathy for him. Until he took that sympathy and threw it out the window when he snitched on Supersonic. Like, this just made no sense. You were literally just complaining about how Homelander treats you like shit. Why are you glazing him again? At that point, I was done with A-Train. I had no hope left for him. Until this character, Blue Hawk, came to the picture. Now, Blue Hawk is a superhero just like A-Train, but he's also racist. And A-Train, with the push from his brother, finally decides to do something good for once. He arranges for Blue Hawk to apologize to all the victims he unjustly killed. But instead of getting a sincere apology from Blue Hawk, A-Train's brother gets paralyzed instead. And to me, this was the turning point that really started A-Train's redemption arc. Because with his brother becoming paralyzed, he really starts to have a change of heart regarding everything. From the fame, to Vought, to even being in the 7. It wasn't worth it all if it meant he lost those he cared about. First, at Herogasm, you're not getting any visuals for this, A-Train kills Blue Hawk, dies from killing Blue Hawk, but then gets revived by taking Blue Hawk's heart. And while this would be the start of his development, Season 4 is where A-Train basically fully completes his redemption arc. Throughout Season 4, we see him slowly become an ally to the boys. He saves Huey from Homelander, steals Compound V, helps prove the innocence of Starlighters, and the scene with A-Train bringing MM to the hospital was amazing. I love that scene. Seeing that little kid smile at A-Train with A-Train smiling back was just so wholesome. And to put the final touches on this redemption arc, A-Train fully betrays the 7 and Homelander by helping the boys fight the Deep and Black Noir. But my favorite part wasn't even A-Train fighting the Deep. I mean, I liked it, no doubt, but my personal favorite part was seeing Homelander's reaction. A-Train? How could he do this to me? Bruh, ain't this you?
Blow A-Train. Wanted to cram in as much fat fuck as possible, huh?
And that's A-Train's redemption arc. I loved watching his character development, and please do not kill him in Season 5. Alright, next we have one of the most famous redemption arcs, Zuko. Now, Zuko was introduced as, frankly, a miserable person. Throughout the first season, whenever we saw him, he was always hell-bent on trying to capture Aang. And when watching Book 1, I was always wondering why was he so obsessed with capturing the Avatar. Now, of course, I knew the general reason why, the cliche, bring honor to his name, blah blah blah, but I needed more answers. Enter Zuko's backstory. Zuko's backstory is a pretty tragic one. From the jump, you could tell Zuko's dad had no real love for him, because while Azula was firebending with ease, training to help the Fire Nation take over the world, Zuko was too busy doing things that brought shame and disappointment to the Fire Nation. Like hanging out with his mom. Terrible crime. But what truly led to his strong desire to capture the Avatar was when during a meeting, Zuko basically calls out some of the Fire Nation generals for throwing away soldiers' lives like nothing. And instead of, praising Zuko for being compassionate, give him a little pat on the back, maybe get him some ice cream, he gets rewarded with a duel instead. And this wouldn't just be your normal friendly fight, no. Ozai, it's clear he does not care about Zuko, because he shows no mercy on this little kid, basically burning half his face off. And let's not ignore Azula with that big smile on her face. She's been preying on Zuko's downfall. Zuko then gets banished, and Ozai basically tells him he can only return to the Fire Nation if he captures the Avatar, which also makes Zuko's obsession a lot more understandable. However, as the story goes on and he spends more and more time with Uncle Iroh, he starts to change. In Book 2, he cuts his hair, much needed. I mean, anything is better than whatever that was. And he also goes through some character development. With Zuko being exposed to other nations suffering like the Earth Nation, he starts to realize the Fire Nation isn't all that. And not only that, we start to see him actually have signs of being a good person. like when he refused to rob a man because he was with his pregnant wife, or when he seemed to settle into his role as a normal person running a tea shop with Uncle Iroh, and especially with his talk with Katara. I truly thought this would be the turning point of Zuko's redemption. Until Azula, have I mentioned how much I hate her, comes to take Zuko back to the Fire Nation. With this, Zuko had to choose between the Fire Nation or his uncle, and Zuko sadly still chooses the Fire Nation after all that character development. It was so damn disappointing. Like, I would have been so mad if this was the end to his development. But I digress, because this redemption arc was not over just yet. Because even though Zuko chose the Fire Nation, he finally realizes that trying to gain his honor back by going to the Fire Nation was not what he wanted or what he was meant to do. His true destiny was to help the Avatar stop the Fire Nation, and I think y'all know how the rest goes. Zuko helps stop the Fire Nation, takes down Azula, thank God, and Zuko becomes the new Fire Lord in charge of building a new peaceful Fire Nation. Classic redemption arc that we all love. But finally, we got Shouya. Now, in the beginning of the movie, we see Shouya as a little kid, living a normal life doing normal things, until this girl, Shoko, arrives as a new student, and Shouya and the other kids start picking on her. Now, there's a number of reasons that someone could be bullied for. I mean, they could watch My Hero Academia, they could be a Discord mod, or worse yet, they could just be me. But bullying someone for being deaf is crazy. Kids really are assholes, goddamn. But fast forward, and Shouya is a high school student, remorseful for what he did as a kid, even learning sign language, hoping to one day be able to see Shoko again. Which he does. He runs into Shoko because a plot, and we see them form a nice little friendship, with Shouya trying to make amends for what he did as a kid. The entire movie basically explores Shouya's journey to redeem himself to not only Shoko, but to himself, and it's just beautiful. And I know I just oversimplified the shit out of that movie, but trust me, my dumbass trying to explain it wouldn't do it justice. But yeah, those were some of the most satisfying redemption arcs in TV shows and movies I've seen. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.